Hey everybody, welcome back to CAF's Heroes of Sport. My name is Bob Babbitt and I'm the co-founder of the Challenged Athletes Foundation. Every week we get to meet some of the world's greatest challenged athletes, and this week is no different because we're chatting with Erica Davis, who's trying to make the Paralympic para-canoe team. Erica, how are you?
Hi, good.
Well, we go back a few years. You played everything growing up. You were pretty much, if there was a sport, baseball, it didn't matter. You were all in. So you graduated in 2004, teaching degree, and bachelor's in exercise science. Had you started teaching before your life changed with the spinal situation?
I had just done my student teaching, and then I took a job in Hawaii to finish out their second half of their school year. So I taught physical education to freshmen and sophomores and coached the girls women's basketball team, and also led intramurals for the school as well. And I taught health.
So you had basically a spinal hemorrhage, a microscopic bleed in your spinal cord. Did you feel this coming on, or did everything just happen all of a sudden?
No, it was, when I was in Hawaii, I had started into triathlons and training, and that's where I got into, I wanted to someday do Hawaii Ironman. And I moved back home to get my master's in kinesiology. And so I had just done one triathlon, my first one, got fifth in my division. And so got the bug, it's like I wanted to do this more and more. And so the day before I had gone running, and then the next day I just had this, the worst backache I've ever had. But I didn't know anything else was going on at that time. So I had 3 days of this backache. And fourth day was I had tingling from waist down, and slowly throughout that day, it just kind of got a little heavier to walk. We went to the hospital that day, and by the end of that evening, we had done x-rays, and they thought maybe a pinched nerve or something. They sent me home with muscle spasm pills and pain pills. And by the end of that night, I had to crawl. And by the next morning, I tried to get out of bed and just crumbled to the floor. So within 5 days, it just went from, not knowing anything was going on until that fourth day.
Well, and the hard part is being a kinesiology person, you know your body and you know the human body. And I'm sure it took a while for the doctors to figure out what the heck was going on.
Yeah. And I was just like, this is not muscle spasms, and so we were back the next day because it's just like, this isn't right.
So you go from a totally mobile life to life in a wheelchair pretty much overnight. How did you react to it? How did you adapt?
Well, when I was in the hospital, I would lay there, and just after everyone was gone for the night or for the day, I would cry myself to sleep and just think of my life of sports, what am I going to do now? And because I didn't have anything, no one in my life of in a chair. And so I do a cousin, but from different. And so I didn't know. So I didn't realize anything until I was already home, and my parents had someone from the town who they had seen in the newspaper to get a standing frame. They had him come over, and we were in a small town. And so he came over and he brought his handcycle. And so that was the first time they had seen a real smile on my face. And, a couple months into my injury, and because I wasn't, I was just going to PT, and it wasn't really anything I was doing at that point till that.
So you find handcycle. That was your first of 1,000 sports.
Yeah.
Because you did everything over time. When did you connect with Challenged Athletes Foundation?
So that summer, so July, I think it was the Alcatraz race. So the day before that race was a clinic. And so we went up there and talked to a number of the athletes, and got some pictures, and I had met Jill Pritchard, and she's the one who told us to come up out for that. So we did, and that's kind of started the relationship there.
Now, was it at first, did you start out on the hand cycle?
Yes.
And at that point, there was, hand cycling races, there was wheelchair racing was going on. Is that where you immersed yourself for those first few years?
I had, well, my first triathlon challenge race in 2006. That was less than a year of my injury. I had been asked if I would do the swim portion of the race, and I was like, I don't know how to swim. So they're like, it's all right, you can do the run portion in your hand cycle. And so then I was presented with the race chair at the race there. But also I met Melanie. Melanie was doing the swim portion, and Melanie didn't have any arms or legs. And it's like, if Melanie can do this, I can do this because I have 2 good arms. So I learned how to swim. And so I started into triathlons that same year, that 2007.
In 2007, so you get into paratriathlon. At that point, paratriathlon wasn't in the Olympics, but there was races in New York and around the world. Did you get into racing around the country and potentially around the world?
Yeah, a lot of local races. And then I got into, in 2012, I went to my first nationals. I won nationals that year, got to go to New Zealand that year, represent the US. Next year, went to London, same thing, World Championships. And this was all leading up to 2016, when it was supposed to be the first year of paratriathlon in the Paralympics. And there are 6 divisions, and they were choosing 3 of the most competitive for male and female, and my division wasn't as competitive. So I took a little break from it and got into wheelchair paddleboarding for a bit. And that's how I met my first kayak coach. And that's how I got into kayaking in 2015.
So I just love how versatile you have been. You're in the paratriathlon, it's so random where it's like, okay, for the first ever Paralympic paratriathlon, they're going to have visually impaired women, but not visually impaired guys, and wheelchair guys and not wheelchair women. It was just sort of like, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. And so no Paralympic dream is going to be fulfilled there. So then you move on, you're like, oh, let's find another sport. And what is it about when you're in the water watching you kayak? There's no difference between looking at you and looking at anybody else kayaking. Is that one of the attractions, that you are the same as everyone else when you're kayaking?
Yeah, it's just you go out. I mean, first off, I like being in nature and just going out in my kayak. It's just this freedom of being away from my chair, and as well just freedom of being in nature. And yeah, I mean, my chair is sitting there, but no one knows who's the one in the chair. So it's I like it. And obviously good. So what is the path in terms of you making it to Tokyo? So I have coming up in May 12 and 15 are my first races in Hungary. So Hungary is for our Paralympic trials, and that will decide who goes to the Paralympics.
That is the coolest thing. And the other thing that you have accomplished, climbing Kilimanjaro. When you first were offered the opportunity to be in a film and go and climb Kilimanjaro, what were your thoughts and what was the experience like?
Yeah, I just got this call. Jill Pritchard called me, and she was like, hey, do you want to climb Kilimanjaro? I was like, yeah. And it was like after we got off the phone and whatnot, then I had to go and look up where it was, what we were doing, what I was saying yes to, signing my life away. And I did have to go and do an interview process, whatnot, with the team, but it was definitely, once in a lifetime, because we made it to the top, and definitely a team effort. I was not getting up there by myself, and we had a great team with us. We all made it. You start off in shorts and t-shirts, and you end up wearing every single layer of clothing that you brought. And I have a pretty high pain tolerance, and I was crying because of the pain was so much. Like the night when we summited, and we were going down to our camp. So it was pretty intense up there, especially paraplegic, having temperature regulation problem. So we had a few concerns, but we made it.
So this experience of going from 2006 till now, and you created a totally different life. When you look at yourself now, how are you different than you were then?
Well, I always knew, I mean, I was always I want to try this, but I was a lot more timid and shy. I mean, I still am, but people now are like, it's brought a lot more out of me. And, that's just from meeting all the different people, sharing all of our life similarities, experiences, and being able to travel around the world and, participate in sports and mentor, other people. And it's been, so all of it has just made me grow as a person. And, it all goes back to, those days of, I know it's just CAF, but they've put a lot, out there for me, and I wouldn't be here, without you all.
How important has CAF been in your life?
They've brought the community, been able to get back out and play sports. That was my life, and so I got my life back.
What will it mean to you to potentially make the Paralympic team?
I think I always wanted to be in the Olympics since I was young, like gymnastics or swimming or softball. And so now, I'm not going to be in the Olympics, but now I have that opportunity to be in the Paralympics, and a lot better opportunity to do so. So it was fun doing it with Paratriathlon, and so being able to do that
we love it. Erica, love having you part of the CAF family. It's I can't believe it's been seriously like 16 years that you've been part of the family, and so many other women have found out about para sports because of you, because of the fact that you have been in hand cycling and racing chair, paratriathlon, now para canoe. You've been that person spearheading and leading the way for other women. I appreciate everything you do.
Yeah, it's been over 30 sports, and this is what I love to do.
Erica Davis has been our guest, everybody. Again, this is Heroes of Sport, our Challenge Athlete Foundation Heroes of Sport. Erica, thank you so much for taking time to chat.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.